Hello friends, in this video we are going to learn pawn breakthroughs. Pawn breakthrough is the situation where we sacrifice one or more pawns in order to create a passed pawn. In this position we are white. Right now we don't have a passed pawn, but we can create a passed pawn. We can sacrifice one or more than one pawn in order to create a passed pawn. Let's see how we can do it. We start with the central pawn. Black has two choices. Black can capture this pawn with the A pawn or black can capture this pawn with the C pawn. Let's say black plays A cross B6. Now we can sacrifice one more pawn to create a passed pawn. Now the path of this pawn is clear, but the only problem is if we push this pawn forward, black's pawn will capture us. So we need to deflect this pawn, and that's why we play pawn to C6. Now black will capture our pawn. If black plays a move like B cross A5, then we can play C cross B7 and in the next move we make a queen. So in this position, black will capture our pawn and then we push the pawn forward. Now the path for this pawn is clear. Pawn to A6, and this is known as the breakthrough. We have sacrificed two pawns to create a passed pawn. Now black cannot stop us from making a queen. Black can push his pawns, but our pawn is much faster. We make a queen and win the game. Let's go back. After pawn to B6, in this position, black can also play C cross B6. This time, the path of this pawn is clear. But again, the problem is as soon as we play pawn to C6, B7 pawn will capture our pawn. So we need to deflect this B7 pawn. And now we play pawn to A6. Sacrificing one more pawn. When black plays B cross A6, then we push the pawn and make a passed pawn. This time C pawn will become a queen. After A5, pawn to C7, we make a queen. Let's go back. Black cannot play a move like pawn to C6 because then we can simply take on A7 and make a queen. When I first learned this trick, I was shocked. I was shocked to see that you can sacrifice so many pawns and still win the game. Let's look at the next example. In this position we are white and our king is far away from this part of the board and black's king can just play king e2, d3 and capture our pawns. So we need to do something right now, otherwise we will lose the game. Luckily, we can use the idea of pawn breakthrough to sacrifice one or two pawns in order to make a passed pawn. And if you get a passed pawn, then we win the game. We can start with pawn to c5 or we can also start with pawn to b5. It does not matter. Let's start with pawn to c5. Now, what choices do black have? Black can first try to capture our pawn or black can try to bring his king. If black captures our pawn, then we recapture with the b pawn. And when black plays a move like king e2, we can create a passed pawn on the d file. We can play pawn to d6. Now black has to take it. Then we play c cross d6 and we make a queen. King d3, pawn push, and we win the game. That's why when we play pawn to c5, black cannot capture this pawn. So black plays king to e2. Now how do we make a passed pawn? If we capture this pawn, then after c cross d6 we cannot create a passed pawn. And if we push this pawn to c6, then after b cross c6, d cross c6, black also gets a passed pawn. So in this position we play b5. Now black can capture this pawn or black can also capture this pawn, but black is going to lose. Let's see how. If black captures our c5 pawn, then this pawn is ready to become a queen. We just need to get the c7 pawn out of the way. So we play pawn to b6, deflecting this c7 pawn. Black plays this move. Now we don't even have to capture. We can just push the pawn forward and we have a passed pawn. We push the pawn and simply win the game. Now the queen is powerful. Queen is going to capture all these pawns. Let's go back. In this position, black can also try to play a cross b5. But this time, a pawn will become a queen. We just need to get the b7 pawn out of the way. So we play pawn to c6, Black to play b cross c6. Then we push the pawn. We have a outside pass pawn on the a file. We make a queen and win the game. Black also has another option. Instead of capturing any of these pawns, Black can just try to bring his king. Now we can push this pawn forward, pawn to c6. We are threatening to take on b7, so Black has to do something. Black can either capture our pawn or Black can push the pawn. If Black captures our pawn, then we play b cross a6 and we got a passed pawn on the a file. After c cross d5, we play pawn to a7 and make a queen. So Black can also play pawn to b6. Now we can again take on a6. We got a passed pawn. After b cross a5, we push the pawn and make a queen. So in any case, white is winning. In this position, it looked like that Black will easily win this game by bringing his king toward the pawns. But using the idea of pawn breakthrough, we managed to win this position. Let's look at the next position. In this position, we are white and we cannot bring our king to attack these pawns because all of these squares are covered by Black's king and by Black's pawn. So we need to do something else. We first play pawn to f5. Idea is, if Black captures our pawn, then we simply recapture with the king and it is easy for us to capture the pawn and then to capture the h5 pawn. So we win the game. But the problem is, what happens if instead of capturing the pawn, Black plays pawn to g5? Now how do we create a passed pawn? One option is to take on g5. After f cross g5, we have a passed pawn. Let's say after king to e5, Black plays pawn to h4, g cross h4, g cross h4. Black will also make a queen. And that's why the position is a draw. So in this position, when Black plays pawn to g5, we don't have to capture this pawn. We can play pawn to g4, sacrificing a pawn in order to create a passed pawn. Black has two choices. Black can capture the g4 pawn or Black can capture the h4 pawn. If Black captures the g4 pawn, then we play pawn to h5, making a passed pawn. Black's king is very far away from the h5 pawn, so Black's king cannot stop us from making a queen. And this pawn can be easily stopped by our king. Black plays pawn to g3, we can just come to f3 and capture this pawn. Black will play king d6, we push h6. Black can try to go to e7, but we simply make a queen. Let's go back. Here Black can also try to play g cross h4. Then we can play g cross h5. We have a passed pawn. Black also has a passed pawn, but our king is in this square of the passed pawn, so we can easily stop our passed pawn. But Black's king is out of this square, so Black cannot stop our passed pawn. After pawn to h3, we can play king to f3 and stop opponent's passed pawn. Black can try to bring his king, but Black will not be able to stop us. So we win the game. In this position, we are white. How do we create a passed pawn and win the game? Black already has a passed pawn. We can also create our own passed pawn by sacrificing pawn to h5. Black must take this pawn. If Black plays something like king to b7, then we can simply push the pawn forward and we have a passed pawn on the h file. So after pawn to h5, Black must capture this pawn. Now we play pawn to g6, sacrifice one more pawn. After pawn to g6, Black is forced to play f cross g6. Otherwise, we will play g cross f7 and make a queen. Black plays f cross g6 and now we got our passed pawn. By sacrificing two pawns in a row, we managed to convert this f pawn in a passed pawn. Now we play pawn to f7 and in the next move we promote our pawn to a queen and win the game. In this position we are white. We are also a pawn down in this position. But using the idea of breakthrough, we can create a passed pawn and win the game. If we play a normal move like h cross g6, then after f cross g6 we cannot create a passed pawn. but by playing a move like pawn to g5, sacrificing a pawn, now we can create a passed pawn. If black plays h cross g5, then we push the pawn to h6 and we got our passed pawn. Black's pawns are far away from becoming a queen, so we win the game. After pawn to g5, black can also try to play g cross h5. Now we take the pawn on h6 and again we got our passed pawn. After h4, h7, we make a queen and win the game. I hope the idea of breakthrough is clear to you. Now using these pawn breakthroughs, you can surprise your opponent and win the game.